Steve Hammond woke up early as he did every morning on his Montana ranch. The sky was still dark as he made his coffee. He had cows to feed and fences to check. It was a normal day. At least it started that way. As he walked toward his barn, he saw a bright light in the sky. At first he thought it was a plane, but it moved too fast. Then it stopped right above his field. Steve froze. The light grew bigger and brighter. "What in the world?" he whispered to himself. The light came down slowly. It was a ship, like nothing Steve had ever seen before. It was round and smooth, with no wings. It glowed with a blue light. The ship landed softly on his field, not even crushing the grass beneath it. Steve didn't run. He was not that kind of man. He stood and watched as a door opened in the side of the ship. A tall figure stepped out. It looked almost human, but not quite. Its skin was pale blue, and its eyes were large and dark. It wore something like a uniform, silver and fitted. "Steve Hammond of Earth," the figure said in perfect English. "I am Ambassador Zixtal of the Xylorian Federation. We come on behalf of the Galactic Council." Steve took off his hat and scratched his head. "How do you know my name?" "We have been watching your planet for centuries," Zixtal said. "Now the time has come for official contact." Meanwhile, in Washington, D.C., Dr. Nancy White was just sitting down at her desk at NASA's Exobiology Division when her phone rang. It was the president himself. "Dr. White," the president said, his voice tense. "We have a situation. Multiple unknown craft have entered Earth's orbit. They're not responding to military hails, but they're broadcasting a message in every language on Earth. They're saying they want to talk." Nancy felt her heart race. "This is what we've prepared for, sir. First contact. I need your team ready in 1 hour," the president said. "You're our expert on possible alien life. I need you to lead this." Nancy's first call was to Peter Collins. He could learn any language faster than anyone. He had mastered 7 Earth languages and created translation systems used worldwide. "Peter," she said when he answered. "It's happening. They're here." Her next call was to Major Lisa Evans. Lisa was an Air Force pilot who had also trained in diplomacy. She was calm under pressure and could handle herself in any situation. Within 3 hours, Nancy, Peter, and Lisa were on a plane to New York. The United Nations had been chosen as the meeting place. Leaders from every major nation were flying, and the world was in shock. News stations showed the alien ships in orbit. People everywhere watched their screens. Some prayed, some partied, some hid in their homes. The world waited. At the UN building, security was tight. Nancy and her team were taken to a special room to prepare. They had only minutes before the aliens would arrive. "Remember," Nancy told Peter and Lisa, "we represent all of Earth now. Every human is counting on us." The door opened. A UN official looked nervous. "They're here," he said. Ambassador Zixtal entered the room with 2 other aliens. They walked with grace, their movements smooth and careful. "Dr. Nancy White," Zixtal said. "Peter Collins, Major Lisa Evans. The Galactic Council greets you." Peter stepped forward. "How do you speak our languages so well?" "We have studied your broadcast for decades," Zixtal said. "Your television, your radio, your internet. We know much about you already." Nancy felt a chill at those words. "And what is this Galactic Council?" "We govern over 300 species across this galaxy," Zixtal explained. "We maintain peace and order. We have come to invite Earth to join as a probationary member." "Probationary?" Lisa asked, her military training making her cautious. "Yes," Zixtal said. "All new species begin this way. You will need to accept certain restrictions on your development and expansion, for your own good and for the good of all galactic citizens." Nancy, Peter, and Lisa exchanged looks. This was not just first contact, this was the beginning of something much bigger. And back in Montana, Steve Hammond watched as more ships landed in his field. He had a feeling that his quiet life had changed, forever. The stars were no longer just lights in the sky. They were places where others lived, and now those others had come to Earth. 6 months had passed since the aliens came to Earth. Life had changed for everyone. but most of all for Major Lisa Evans. She now spent her days on the huge space station where the Galactic Council held its meetings. As Earth's military representative, she attended countless briefings and tours. Today she walked down a long curved hallway with walls that seemed to glow from within. Two aliens from a species called the Vril led her toward yet another meeting room. Lisa smiled politely, but her mind was racing. Something felt wrong about all of this. "And here we will show you our new communication systems," one of the Vril said. "Much better than your Earth technology." Lisa nodded. "We appreciate all you're sharing with us." But did they share everything? Lisa had noticed how the aliens always seemed to ask more questions than they answered. They were very interested in Earth's military bases, weapons, and resources. Too interested. When the tour ended, Lisa went to her private quarters. She checked carefully for listening devices using a scanner hidden in her watch. Once sure she was not being watched, she took out a small notebook and wrote down her observations. This was her real mission: to learn the Council's true aims. Back on Earth, Steve Hammond was giving a talk at a community center in his hometown. Since the aliens had landed on his ranch, he had become famous. People wanted to hear his story again and again. So there I was, just a regular rancher, when this blue fella steps out of a spaceship and knows my name, Steve told the crowd. People laughed and clapped. After the talk, a man approached him. He wore a plain suit and had a friendly smile, but his eyes were sharp and alert. "Mr. Hammond, I'm Alan Garcia. I enjoyed your talk." Steve shook his hand. "Thanks. You from around here?" "No, I work for the government." "Analyst division," Alan said, but something in his voice made Steve doubt this was his real job. "Could we talk somewhere private?" They found a quiet corner in a nearby diner. Alan leaned forward. "Mr. Hammond, what's your impression of our new alien friends?" Steve thought for a moment. "They seem nice enough. Brought us some good technology. Medicine that can cure things we couldn't before." Alan nodded. "Yes, but have you noticed they're very careful about what technology they share? Nothing that might help us travel far in space or improve our defenses." "Now that you mention it," Alan slid a small device across the table. It looked like a regular phone. "If you notice anything unusual during your interactions with the council members, use this to contact me. It's secure." Meanwhile, Dr. Nancy White was working late in her lab at the new Global Science Center. As Earth's chief scientific liaison to the Council, she had access to data that few others did. Tonight, she was comparing notes on the technology the aliens had shared. "This doesn't make sense," she muttered to herself. The medical technology the Council had provided was impressive, but it had strange gaps. They offered cures for diseases but were vague about how they worked. They shared energy technology but not the science behind it. Her phone rang. It was Peter Collins, who now worked as a translator for the Council. "Nancy, can you talk?" Peter asked, his voice low. "Yes, I'm alone in the lab. What's wrong?" "I've been translating some documents from the Xylorian language," and Peter said. "I found something odd. There's a classification system for species. Humans are listed as Class 5 aggressive species. I looked into what that means in their system." "And?" Nancy prompted when he paused. "It's not good." Other Class 5 species mentioned in their historical records were all eventually subject to containment protocols. I'm still working out what exactly that means, but it doesn't sound like membership. It sounds like control. Nancy felt a chill run down her spine. "Keep digging, but be careful. I think we need to have a talk with Lisa and maybe this Alan Garcia that she mentioned." As she hung up, Nancy looked out the window at the night sky. The stars no longer seemed welcoming. Somewhere up there, the Galactic Council was making plans for Earth, and Nancy was growing more certain that humans wouldn't like those plans at all. 1 year had passed since the aliens first landed on Earth. The Galactic Council now had bases on the Moon and Mars. They called these observation posts, but they looked more like military bases. On Earth, Council members sat on oversight committees in every major government. They said this was to help guide humanity, but it felt more like control. Some people were happy with the changes. The aliens had shared medical technology that cured many diseases. They provided clean energy systems that replaced coal and oil. But with each gift came new rules and limits. Lisa Evans sat in a secret underground room. With her were 20 men, and women from different countries all wearing military uniforms. This was the fourth meeting of what they called Project Lighthouse. The Council has placed new restrictions on space travel, Lisa said. No human ships are allowed beyond Mars. Without Council approval, a Russian general nodded. They say it's for safety, but they're boxing us in. We found something interesting, said a woman from India's space program. The alien monitoring systems have blind spots, small areas they can't see. Lisa smiled. That's exactly what we need. We must develop ways to work without them watching. Meanwhile, at Steve Hammond's ranch, a group gathered in his barn. Alan Garcia stood beside a map of the western United States. Hammond's ranch is here, Alan pointed. The Council's nearest monitoring system is 50 miles away. They can't see or hear us here. Steve looked at the people in his barn. Scientists, soldiers, government workers, all meeting in secret. A year ago, he was just a rancher. Now his home was a base for what some might call resistance. I still don't understand why they can't monitor this area, Steve said. Alan explained. There's something in the local rock that blocks their sensors. We got lucky. Luck has nothing to do with it, said a new voice. Everyone turned to see Nancy, white, entering the barn. With her was Peter Collins. We've learned more about the Council's plans, Nancy said. And it's worse than we thought. Peter opened a laptop and showed them alien text with his translation. The Council has classified Earth as a Class 5 aggressive species, Peter explained. According to their protocols, such species are too dangerous to allow free development. What does that mean for us? Steve asked. Nancy's face was grim. Based on what we've found, it means they plan to eventually control human population growth, limit our technology, and basically turn Earth into a resource farm for the Council. The room fell silent. Finally, Lisa spoke. We need to know more, and we need to prepare. Prepare for what? Someone asked. To defend ourselves, Lisa said simply. We can't match their technology yet, but humans have something the Council doesn't expect. What's that? Steve asked. Creativity when backed into a corner, Lisa replied. Throughout human history, we've made our greatest advances when facing our greatest threats. Over the next weeks, Project Lighthouse grew. Around the world, in places the aliens couldn't monitor, humans gathered and planned. Scientists worked on ways to understand and copy alien technology. Military experts developed new strategies. At NASA, Nancy White led a team that studied the alien ships. They rely heavily on automated systems, she told the others during a secure video call. That could be a weakness. Peter Collins spent his days translating alien texts and his nights teaching others the alien languages he had learned. Knowledge is power, he told his students. The more we understand them, the better our chances. Alan Garcia built a network of people who gathered information about the Council's activities on Earth. Every worker at an alien facility, every translator at a Council meeting, they all might see or hear something useful. And Steve Hammond, the simple rancher who had been first to meet the aliens, now found himself at the center of humanity's quiet resistance. His ranch became a place where plans were made and hope remained alive. They think they know humans, Lisa said at the end of another secret meeting. They have no idea what we're capable of when we're fighting for our freedom. Peter Collins sat in a quiet corner of the Galactic Council's central station. As Earth's chief translator, he had his own small office here. Today he was working on a set of trade documents between the Council and a species called the Dravids. At least that was what he told his alien supervisor. In truth, Peter was using his access to search for information. For weeks, he had been carefully exploring the Council's data systems. He was looking for anything about Class 5 species and containment protocols. Just a few more minutes, he whispered to himself as his fingers moved across the alien keyboard. The symbols were strange, but after a year of study, they made sense to him now. Suddenly, A file opened that made Peter freeze. The title translated, roughly to Historical Containment Procedures. He quickly began reading, his heart racing. What he found made him feel sick. Earth wasn't the first Class 5 species the Council had encountered. There had been 3 others, one called the Krell, another named the Vox, and a third simply labeled Species 7291. All 3 civilizations had been contained, their technology was limited, their populations were controlled, their worlds were now little more than farms and mines for the Council. The people lived, but they had no freedom, no future beyond what the Council allowed. Peter carefully copied the files to a hidden device in his pocket. Then he closed everything and went back to his regular work. He had to get this information to the others, but he had to be careful. The Council was always watching. Meanwhile, on Earth, Lisa Evans was making a breakthrough of her own. In a lab hidden beneath an old factory, she and a team of engineers had been studying pieces of alien technology. "We've done it," said one of the engineers, a young woman named Kelly. "We can tap into their communication system." Lisa looked at the device they had built. It didn't look like much, just a box with wires and lights. But if it worked, it would change everything. "Let's test it," Lisa said. Kelly turned it on. At first there was just static. Then, clear as day, they heard alien voices speaking. The translation program they had created displayed the words on a screen. Deployment schedule approved. Peacekeeping force will establish permanent bases on Terra within 6 standard cycles. Lisa and Kelly looked at each other. 6 standard cycles meant 6 months in Earth time. "They're coming in force," Lisa said. "We need to warn the others." At the same time, miles away in the mountains of Montana, Steve Hammond was hiking. He needed time to think, away from the pressures of being part of the resistance. The crisp, mountain air cleared his head. As he rounded a bend in the trail, something caught his eye. A metal structure, half hidden among the trees. Steve had hiked these mountains all his life. This had never been here before. Carefully, he moved closer. There were no guards, no fence. Just a door with strange symbols. Alien symbols. Steve took out his phone. The special one Alan Garcia had given him. He took pictures and sent them, with a short message. "Found something. Sending coordinates." Then, against his better judgment, Steve tried the door. To his surprise, it opened. Inside was a single room filled with alien equipment. On the walls were images and diagrams of humans. Some showed human bodies with notes in alien script. Others showed maps of human cities. Most disturbing was a large display at the center. It showed a document titled in both alien and human languages, Containment Protocol, Terra. Steve took more pictures, his hands shaking slightly. He needed to get this information back to the others. As he turned to leave, he heard a sound outside. Someone, or something, was coming. Quickly, he hid behind a large piece of equipment. An alien entered, one of the blue-skinned Xylorians. It went to the central display and began working. Steve stayed perfectly still, barely breathing. After what seemed like hours, the alien left. Steve waited a few more minutes, then slipped out. He had to get down the mountain fast. What he had found could be the evidence they needed, proof of the Council's true plans for Earth. Nancy White stood before a room of world leaders. The meeting was held in a bunker deep beneath the Swiss Alps. No alien technology was allowed here. Everyone had been checked for tracking devices. This was perhaps the most important meeting in human history. "The evidence is clear," Nancy said, pointing to images on a large screen. "The Galactic Council plans to contain Earth, just as they've done to 3 other civilizations." She showed the files Peter Collins had found. Then Lisa Evans presented the intercepted communications about the peacekeeping force. Finally, they displayed Steve Hammond's photos from the mountain facility. "They will arrive in less than 6 months," Nancy concluded. "We need to decide now how to respond." The room erupted in debate. Some leaders wanted to confront the Council directly. Others suggested trying to negotiate better terms. A few even proposed surrender, hoping for gentle treatment. The president of Brazil stood up. Fighting is suicide. Their technology is too advanced. Surrender is slavery, countered the Prime Minister of Japan. Look what happened to the other Class 5 species. The debate raged for hours. Finally, the President of the United States asked a simple question. Dr. White, Major Evans, what do you recommend? Nancy and Lisa exchanged looks. They had discussed this question many times with their team. We can't win a direct fight, Lisa admitted, but we don't have to. We need to use what humans have always been good at, adaptation and unpredictability. Nancy nodded. We propose Operation Trojan Horse, a plan to turn the Council's strengths into weaknesses. On a new screen, they displayed their strategy. It had many parts all working together. First, Lisa would lead a team to infiltrate the Council's technology networks. Using the knowledge they had gained from studying alien systems, they would plant hidden programs, not to destroy, but to mislead. Second, Peter Collins would use his position and language skills to spread carefully chosen rumors among Council species. He would focus on existing tensions between different alien groups. Third, Alan Garcia would direct a network of spies and informants, gathering intelligence while feeding false information to Council representatives. Fourth, Steve Hammond would play the role of the simple, harmless human, hosting Council members at his ranch and showing them exactly what they expected to see, humans who were accepting their place in the galactic order. And behind all of this, in hidden facilities around the world, scientists and engineers would work on new weapons and defenses. They would use what they had learned from alien technology but add human innovation. The Council thinks they understand humans, Lisa told the leaders. They see us as aggressive but predictable. They don't know that our greatest strength is thinking in ways they can't imagine. The room fell silent as the world leaders considered the plan. It wasn't perfect. It was risky. But it offered a chance. How long do we need? Asked the Chancellor of Germany. 3 months to set everything in place, Nancy answered. Then we wait for the right moment. One by one, the leaders voted. The decision was unanimous. Operation Trojan Horse would begin immediately. As the meeting ended, Steve Hammond approached Nancy and Lisa. I'm just a rancher, he said. I'm not sure I can fool those aliens. Lisa smiled. That's exactly why you're perfect for this role. They already see you as a simple human. You just need to let them keep thinking that while we work behind the scenes. Nancy put a hand on Steve's shoulder. Every part of this plan is essential, including yours. As they left the bunker, each returning to their part of the operation, a new sense of purpose united them. Humans had faced threats before throughout their history. They had overcome ice ages, plagues, and their own destructive tendencies. Now they faced their greatest challenge, an advanced alien coalition that saw them as nothing more than a problem to contain. But if the Council thought humans would accept captivity without a fight, they were about to learn a very important lesson. Operation Trojan Horse began on a quiet Tuesday morning. In orbit above Earth, Lisa Evans and a small team approached the Council's main communication hub. They wore maintenance uniforms and had all the proper clearances. Their mission had been planned for weeks. Maintenance crew requesting access to central cooling systems, Lisa said into her comm unit. Access granted, came the reply from the alien station. The team entered the station. The aliens barely looked at them. Humans were often assigned to basic maintenance tasks. Lisa led her team down a series of hallways to a control room. We have 15 minutes before the next security sweep, Lisa told her team. Work fast. They opened panels and connected special devices to the alien computers. These devices looked like normal parts, but contained hidden programs. These programs would slowly, over months, change the data that the Council received about Earth. Defense capability assessments will show lower readings than reality, one team member confirmed as she worked. Population centers will appear less organized, another team member connected a second device. And most importantly, their intel reports will indicate total compliance with Council directives. In just 12 minutes, they finished and closed all the panels. When they left, nothing looked different. but the seeds of confusion had been planted in the alien systems. Meanwhile, Peter Collins was using his position as a translator to spread carefully crafted rumors. Today he was working with representatives from 5 different alien species. I couldn't help but notice the Vril delegation received larger quarters than the Dravids, he mentioned casually to a Dravid representative. Later, to a Xylorian official, he said, the Mox seem very interested in Earth's water resources, more than they've admitted in council meetings. Each comment was small, but each planted a seed of doubt. Peter knew that most council species already had tensions between them. He was simply making those tensions worse. Back on Earth, Steve Hammond welcomed a delegation of council representatives to his ranch. They had come to observe typical human habitat patterns. This is where I keep my animals, Steve explained, showing them his barn. He spoke slowly and simply. He had practiced seeming just smart enough to be useful, but not smart enough to be threatening. Your technology is very primitive, one alien noted, looking at Steve's tractor. Yeah, but it gets the job done, Steve replied with a rehearsed shrug. We're just simple folks trying to get by. Sure appreciate all the help the council's given us. While the aliens toured the ranch, a special team hidden nearby was scanning and copying data from the aliens' equipment. Every device the visitors carried contained valuable information. Nancy White supervised this operation from a hidden room beneath Steve's barn. We're getting good readings, she told Alan Garcia over a secure line. Their personal devices have fewer security measures than their main systems. Excellent, Alan replied. We're doing similar operations at 17 locations today. None of these actions seemed important alone, but together they formed a web of deception and intelligence gathering that grew stronger each day. 3 months into Operation Trojan Horse, the team received alarming news. The council had moved up its timeline. The peacekeeping fleet, actually an invasion force, would arrive in just 2 months. They're getting nervous, Lisa explained during an emergency meeting. Our operations are making them uncertain, so they're accelerating their plans. Are we ready? Nancy asked. It wasn't supposed to happen this soon. Lisa took a deep breath. We have to be. We've planted enough viruses in their systems to cause significant disruption. Peter has created divisions among at least 8 council species, and our new weapon systems are almost ready. Steve looked worried. But will it be enough? It has to be, Lisa said, because ready or not, they're coming. Around the world, hidden factories increased production. Scientists worked around the clock. Military units trained with new equipment. And every day, more false data flowed to the council, preparing a nasty surprise for the aliens who thought they understood humans. The day of the council fleet's arrival came sooner than expected. Early warnings picked up their ships dropping out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the solar system. Earth's leaders gathered in the underground command center beneath the Rocky Mountains to monitor the situation. 37 ships detected, reported a technician. Largest group of council vessels ever sent to Earth. Lisa Evans stood tall, watching the large screens that showed the aliens approach. This was the moment they had prepared for. She gave a nod to Nancy White, who pressed a button on her tablet. Activating countermeasures now, Nancy said. Throughout the solar system, hidden human satellites came to life. They sent carefully designed signals to the alien fleet. These signals triggered the viruses Lisa's team had planted in the council systems months ago. On the main screen, they watched as something unexpected happened to the alien fleet. Ships suddenly dropped out of formation. Some drifted off course, others spun in circles. It's working, Lisa said with a grim smile. Their navigation and communication systems are failing. A cheer went up in the command center, but Lisa raised a hand for quiet. This is just the first step. We've confused them, but they're still dangerous. On another screen, they could see messages coming in from Peter Collins, who was still on the council's main station. Council leadership in chaos, his message read. Different species blaming each other for system failures. The alliances I've been weakening are breaking down. The alien fleet regrouped, though in smaller numbers. 20 ships continued toward Earth while others drifted, disabled. Second phase, Lisa ordered. Around Earth, hidden defense platforms revealed themselves. These weapons were unlike anything humans had built before. They combined human creativity with principles learned from studying alien technology. The engineers called them hybrid weapons. When the alien ships came within range, Earth fired. Beams of energy shot up from Earth's surface, from submarines in the oceans, and from hidden bases on the moon. These weapons didn't try to destroy the alien ships. Instead, they disabled specific systems, weapons, engines, and shields. On the command screens, the human leaders watched as the mighty Council fleet broke apart in confusion. Some ships were completely disabled. Others fired weapons that missed their targets because their targeting systems had been corrupted by human viruses. They expected us to cower or fight conventionally, Lisa explained to the world leaders. They never imagined we would find ways to use their own technology against them. Message from the Council flagship, a communications officer announced. They're demanding our surrender. The President of the United States, who had been elected to speak for Earth in this crisis, stepped forward. Send them our response. The message was simple. We chose peace. You chose containment. We now choose freedom. Withdraw your forces immediately. There was no immediate reply. On the screens, they could see the Council ships regrouping again. Several had managed to repair some systems. They're not giving up, Lisa observed. Neither are we, Nancy responded. Time for Phase 3. This was the most daring part of their plan. While the Council fleet was distracted by Earth's defenses, a small group of advanced human ships revealed themselves. These vessels had been built in secret, using the knowledge gained from studying alien technology. Led by a ship called the Freedom, this small human fleet didn't attack the Council vessels. Instead, they moved past them, heading for a specific target. The Council's central station. Major Evans, came a voice over the comm. It was Kelly, the engineer who had helped Lisa tap into alien communications a year ago. Now she commanded the Freedom. We've broken through their outer defenses, proceeding to the main station. Lisa nodded. Remember, this isn't about destruction. It's about showing them we won't be contained. On the screens, they watched as the human ships approached the heart of the Council's power. This was the moment that would decide Earth's future. The human ships reached the Galactic Council's central station without firing a single shot. This massive ring-shaped structure served as the seat of power for hundreds of species across the galaxy. Today it would witness humanity's final message. Lisa Evans stood in the command center of the Freedom as they docked. With her were Nancy White, Peter Collins, and even Steve Hammond, who had been brought along for this historic moment. Remember, Lisa told her team, we're not conquerors. We're here to show them what freedom means. As they entered the station, Council security forces stepped aside, confused by their damaged systems and conflicting orders. The viruses had done their work well. In the Great Council chamber, representatives from all member species had gathered. The attack on the fleet had shocked them. Never before had a Class 5 species resisted containment. The humans walked to the center of the chamber. The room fell silent as Peter Collins stepped forward. In perfect Council standard language, he began to speak. Members of the Galactic Council, we come before you not as enemies, but as equals. For 1 year we have observed your true intentions. You promised partnership but planned our enslavement. You offered guidance but delivered control. Nancy White joined him, sharing data on the chamber's central display. Here is evidence of your own protocols. 3 civilizations before us were classified as you classified Earth. They are now slaves to your system, their worlds reduced to nothing more than resource farms. Murmurs spread through the chamber. Some representatives had never seen these classified documents before. Steve Hammond stepped forward. The simple rancher who had made first contact now stood before the galaxy's leaders. He spoke in plain words. You thought we were primitive because we hadn't traveled the stars like you. You thought we were weak because we welcomed you with open hands. You were wrong. Humans don't need fancy technology to be strong. We've survived ice ages, wars, and disasters by working together and never giving up. Lisa Evans took the floor. Next. Your fleet lies disabled in our system. Not destroyed, disabled. We could have killed thousands today, but we chose not to. That's not weakness. That's strength. She pointed to the screens showing the battle's aftermath. Your technology is superior, but you've become dependent on it. You forgot that true power comes from creativity, adaptability, and the will to be free. Peter Collins began presenting their demands. Earth hereby declares its complete independence from the Galactic Council. The Sol system is sovereign human territory. Any ship entering our space without permission will be considered an act of war. Furthermore, Nancy added, we have established outposts beyond your monitoring capabilities. We have developed technologies you cannot counter because they work on principles you never taught us, principles we discovered ourselves. The head of the council, an ancient being from the founding species, finally spoke. You dare threaten the order we have maintained for millennia? Steve Hammond smiled. We're not threatening, we're warning. Leave us alone and we'll leave you alone. Come after us again, and you'll find out just how creative humans can be when protecting their freedom. Peter delivered the final message. We know you have subjugated 3 other Class 5 species. We offer them this. Any species seeking freedom from council control will find an ally in humanity. The chamber erupted. Representatives from dozens of species began arguing. Some supported the humans. Others, particularly from the dominant council races, called for immediate military action. But the debate was cut short when Nancy revealed one final surprise. By the way, this entire confrontation has been broadcast to every inhabited world in council space. Everyone now knows what you've done to species you deem dangerous. Lisa looked directly at the council leadership. So here's our final warning. Stay away from Earth, because if you come for us again, you'd better run while you still can. The humans turned and walked out of the chamber, leaving chaos behind them. As they departed the station, they received hundreds of messages from other species, some warnings, some threats, but many offering alliance. Back on Earth, celebrations erupted as the alien fleet retreated. Humanity had done the impossible. They had faced the most powerful force in the galaxy and won their freedom. In the months that followed, Earth became a symbol of resistance. Several subjugated species began their own fights for independence. The Galactic Council, for the first time in its history, faced real opposition. And somewhere in Montana, Steve Hammond went back to ranching. But now when he looked at the stars, he smiled. Humans had their place among them, and they had earned it on their own terms.